Hey. Thanks again for pressing play, Suns fans, and welcome once again to another edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast right here on the BLEAV Podcast Network, brought to you by FanDuel, where if you had a nice little parlay tonight, right, 15 points, that's all you asked for from Dylan Brooks. Nothing big. 6 assists from Devin Booker. Nothing big. 4 rebounds from Oso Ighodaro. Nothing big, but so close. He ended with 3 rebounds. But that's what makes the game fun. So head on over to FanDuel and make your bets on Oso Ighodaro rebounds. I would have taken Jordan Goodwin rebounds, but they didn't have the line posted. Gosh darn it. Got down, sat on a bench. Well, a fun game again tonight. Final score 112-93. The Phoenix Suns have no problem dispatching the Washington Wizards in a game that could have been a trap game. Let's be honest here. The team's getting ready to go on a 6-game road trip. You're playing the Washington Wizards, a team that is not what you would consider a great team. They are playing better. They're 4-5 in their last 9 games. So definitely a team that possesses the ability to jump you if you're not ready for it. But the Suns, my friends, the Suns were ready for it. We're going to talk about that and more in this edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast. My name is Darth Voida, managing editor, Bright Side of the Sun, and I will be coming to you live and alone tonight, as Matthew was actually at the game. So he got to go hang out with the fam, get a break, and watch a great game. So plenty to talk about on this edition. Turn on, tune in, and zone out, baby.
Session podcast, shooting the shit about the Suns since 2019.
All right, my Jamsters, I'm going to do my best tonight. I'm still standing. I'm still afraid to sit. You know, threw the back out a week ago today, a week ago last night, yeah. And it's getting better, but like if I sit too long, my whole back tightens up, locks up. I just go into lockjaw, like I just ate some bougainvillea or something. So going to try to avoid that, but I'll go as long as I can. But a great game, a fun game, an easy game, right? Gotta love games like this because winning in the NBA, it's hard, period, exclamation point. It's not easy to go out and do what the Suns did tonight. They scored 32 in the first, 33 in the second, 31 in the third, only scored 16 in the fourth because by that time the game was over. But it's nice to have games like this. It's nice to have the ones where you can kind of go, oh, hey, the Chargers are playing the Patriots right now. I can kind of tune in on that. Or in my case, oh, sweet, I can start writing my Bright Side Baller column that I do after every game. Because after I'm done recording this podcast, I write a column that's published first thing in the morning on brightsideofthesun.com tomorrow morning. It's essentially a jam star of the game, but in written version. And I give everybody in the community there an opportunity to vote based on statistics that were posted by the players, but I also give a kind of a summation, and I got a head start on that in the third quarter tonight, and that was fantastic. It's fun to experience these kind of games because this is the Suns passing another test, and in fact, I guess I'm answering a question. I could play the drop, and I will.
Matthew, I've got to ask.
Hey, John, I got to ask, did the Suns pass a test tonight? Hello, John. Hello, John. Hello, John. Hello, John. Yes, the Suns passed the test tonight. The test is a trap game. How do they play with trap? They've had like 2 or 3 opportunities to play trap games, what you would define as a classic trap game tonight. And they passed that test with flying colors, in my opinion, because a trap game is exactly what was tonight. The Washington Wizards at home before a 6-game road trip, with the first trip being to Miami. So young players, you know, they're already making reservations at the Coco Cabana or whatever's out there in Miami. I've never been to Miami. No desire really to go either. But this young team isn't like most young teams because they're focused at the task at hand. Jordan has them locked in and ready to play, and play they did. They came out and kind of rough a little bit at the front end. And I guess if I was to pull out the old burn book, this is the only thing I really have
the
for
Suns
it.
Jam Session Burn Book.
Suns Jam Session.
John is going full Gollum. My precious, it's just me in a room talking to myself. The only thing I had in my burn book was the Suns giving up free points at the rim for the second consecutive game. This happened in their last game. Happened again tonight, where I just felt like they were opening the doors. You know, Alex Sarr was kind of scoring at will. Bilal Coulibaly then was starting to hit some threes, but nothing overly concerning, you know, but the rotations just kind of have to be better in those early parts of the game. But again, the first quarter is kind of a boxing match. Like, you're feeling out the competition, right? So you're trying to understand what their strategy is. And in this case, potentially give them a sense of false hope. And that's what the Suns did, is they gave Washington a sense of false hope. It's like, yeah, man, you can come in here. Come on. And then they just started swatting the ball, both on shot attempts and as Washington Wizards were driving, ended the game with a total of 11 steals as a team. You know, so the top team in the NBA relative to steals, once again, dominated in that aspect of the game. So that's all I really have from a burn book perspective, because this is a night for the bright side, my friends.
Tell me the
Right side.
Oh man, where do I begin? Where do I begin on the bright side? Let's go with the guy who scored the most points in the game, and it was only 19 points.
Yeah, bling bling bling. Rolls Royce, Rolls Royce, Rolls Royce, yeah, nigga, Rolls Royce.
Fellow Jamsters, Royce O'Neal led all Suns in scoring with 19 points. A season high 19 points, 5 of 9 from beyond the arc. But that just goes to show you what balance looks like. And Royce, you know, played his game. And what I love about how he played tonight and the past couple nights is it feels like every time somebody or members of this team get talked about in trade rumors, because we're in that time of the year, right? We're 25 days away from the trade deadline, and people are starting to put together their mock trades and really having conversations about what the direction of this team is, both in the short term and the long term. And they're good thought exercises. That's what you do as a fan, right? You go to ESPN. I like, where do I go? Fanspo. I go to fanspo.com. That's where I like to do my trade machining. But I don't have a lot to do this year because, and you can read a whole article that I wrote about it yesterday on Bright Side of the Sun about how the Sun should stand pat. And if you've watched or listened to this podcast in the past, you kind of know where I stand on this subject. You know that I think that the Suns are good where they're at, and it's not I'm happy on the farm point of view. The fact that Jalen Green is still yet to play for this team, it's almost like you're adding in a trade a $33 million player who can attack the rim and is going to bring energy and speed to your team, which already has youthful exuberance. It's almost like you're making a transaction at the trade deadline for a player like that. And you're not giving anything up, right? But Royce O'Neal is one of those names that naturally, because he makes 10.3 million, somewhere in that range, his name comes up in trade conversations because he's a stackable piece. Everyone's like, well, Royce plus Nick Richards equals insert player name here that no other team is going to really give us for those assets unless we attach draft capital, and therefore it'll never happen player, right? So I love that not only do we have these conversations, but every time we do, it feels like then that player goes off, right? Grayson Allen was the last guy. There's been people who've been banging the drum that we should trade Grayson Allen for the same reasons as Royce, right? Tradable contract. Both of them have a very transferable skill that other teams are in desperate need of. Having quality three-point shooters is a good thing to have in this league. And the Suns have two of them that are both desirable assets. And every day that goes by, they become more desirable. But with Grayson Allen being out for as long as he was, people are like, well, we're doing just fine without him, so just get rid of him. And then he comes back, he has one bad game, and then he has two really good games. And it's kind of a reminder. It's like, oh yeah, well, we don't need to trade him. He's a good building block and he's a good culture guy. And he checks all the boxes of why this team is good. Royce O'Neal does that same thing, in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying we need to hold on to Royce for the remainder of his contract. He has 2.5 years left on it. And some people think that right now he is at his highest value. And that might not be a wrong stance. But I think that his value, based on what he's done thus far this season and potentially will continue to do this season, for a team that's in a transition year, increases value this upcoming summer. And you can push that decision to this summer. You don't need to throw a wrench in the chemistry that we've experienced and we've enjoyed night after night just for the sake of doing it, just because you can. Now, it's fun to have the conversations and it's a good thought exercise, as I mentioned, but it doesn't need to happen. So don't do it. Sometimes the best decisions are the ones that you don't make. It's like Garth Brooks used to say, sometimes I thank God for unanswered prayers. You probably don't know that song if you're under like 35, because Garth Brooks is a douche and he puts all of his music only on Amazon, not Spotify or Apple. And therefore, an entire generation has no fucking clue how good he was. But yeah, Royce, season high, led the team in scoring, microwave scorer. And, he's the guy who got the interview at the end of the game with Amanda Pflugrad. So kudos to him. Will he be my jam star? We'll see. Gosh, what else? Let's see. Taking a look at the chat real quick. Again, thank you to everybody who's joining along live. If you're watching on YouTube, sweet, hit that thumbs up button. If you're watching on Twitter, I know it's convenient, but you like the show, don't you? Head on over to YouTube. It's like youtube.com/@SunsJam. And just give us a sub, man. Get us to 4K. We're still not at 4,000. Let's take a look at the chat. Let's see. Sean, I can see them moving Richards for a lesser contract to get under the tax. Him or Nigel Hayes-Davis. Otherwise, don't touch anyone else. Those are the two players I wouldn't mind them moving, but they don't need to get under the tax, right? They're only like $700,000 over the tax. So it's not like, and based on our owner's history, I don't think that he has a history of being like a penny pincher. Like Sarver would absolutely do it just to get under the tax. But Ishbia doesn't care. He's got team chemistry. And the only thing I'm hesitant when it comes to Richards about talking about trading him is he might not be the greatest player, but he is a depth play. And I'd rather have too much depth at the center position than not enough. I know we got Oso. I know we got Kaman Malawatch, but I'd rather have an experienced guy in there for now because, again, I like where the Suns are at, and I just don't know if we necessarily have to change it. And that's just my thing. That's my thing. J959 says, need size at the traditional 4. Richards is behind Oso and Williams. They need some time eventually for man. Yeah, we could use size at the traditional 4, but my challenge is I just don't think that there's anybody on the trade market that the Suns could potentially get. Like Okongwu from Atlanta, they've mentioned potentially moving him, but I just think that anything that we offer them would include draft capital that we just don't have at this point. So we're not in this position of power when it comes to that transaction. A position of power would be this upcoming offseason or potentially this trade season. You never know. But like in a Royce O'Neal situation, like let's say you're the Magic and you're a horrible team from beyond the arc and you need a 3-point shooter. Now we have an asset that you desire. So we're going to give you Royce O'Neal. We're going to get something back, but we're also going to get a draft pick or two. So, but 'tis the season. 'Tis the season for these conversations. Thomas says, hey, when do we move out of the 7th spot? Well, I'm going to take a look on ESPN right now. The Rockets are actually playing the Kings. If the Kings beat the Rockets somehow, we overtake them in that spot. But that is asking a lot because the Kings are the Kings, and they are tied right now. 59.2 seconds left in the third. It's tied at 75-75. So if I'm correct, that means that the Suns will, if the Kings can somehow help a buddy out, at least for a day, because right now we're tied with the Rockets at 8.5 behind the Oklahoma City Thunder, but they still have a game in play. And we're only a half game behind the Lakers, who are in the 5th seed. The Minnesota Timberwolves were losing to the Spurs and outscored the Spurs 33-15 tonight and came back and beat them by a point, 104-103. And we're right now a game and a half behind them and the Nuggets, who are the 3 seed. So, I mean, the Suns are sitting pretty. We have the TCOB on the road. That's the most important thing upcoming. We have the TCOB on the road. All right, another guy I want to talk about. I haven't played this guy's drop in a long time.
Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun
Solid game for Mr. Dunn. He was 4 of 8 from the field, 1 of 3 from beyond the arc. He had 9 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1 monstrous putback. Absolutely disgusting, aggressive putback on a missed Jordan Goodwin corner 3. Ryan Dunn comes flying in and throws it home. And I just, he had that dunk on the putback. And then, like, the next possession, he hit a 3 above the break 3. And I was asking myself, I'm like, was that the best 30 seconds of offensive basketball that we've seen from Ryan Dunn all year? And I'm sure you can find another snippet where he hit a couple shots, but that was just explosive, fantastic. And again, young player playing in the system and is impresses from time to time. Everybody in this team might not impress all the time, but they all do their part. And him, especially defensively, didn't have any steals tonight. He's one of the few who didn't. It was actually Colin Gillespie who led the way with 4 steals for the team. But Ryan Dunn continues to slowly progress. I think that it's a good place for him where he's at right now. And again, just contributes to winning. And that's what all these guys do. This guy too.
Yeah. Mark Williams is a bad man. Yeah. Ripping rebounds, blocking shots, playing like a madman. Yeah. Crowd go wild when he raised that hand. Pain in the paint, that's the master plan. Williams is a bad man.
Yeah, 2 points. Only starter, not in double figures, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys in double figures. Only 6 rebounds. You look at that. You wake up tomorrow morning, you look at the box score, and you're like, why the fuck is Voida playing his drop? Like, what did he do? What did he do to earn it? But I just think, like, the way that he was running in transition again put pressure on the Washington defenders, while simultaneously on the other end, the way that he defended. Now, granted, like, Sarr had himself a night. Absolutely smoked, and it wasn't just him, but actually absolutely smoked Williams on that side of the ball at times. But I thought what Williams was bringing, especially on the perimeter, was disrupting them. And that's what I was really keyed into tonight when I watched Mark Williams, was just the way that he was navigating that perimeter defense, because that's so valuable and important to who and what the Suns are and want to be. And that's why we got Mark Williams. And that's why Oso plays so much and Nick Richards doesn't, because Nick Richards can't defend the perimeter the same way that Mark Williams and Oso Ighodaro can. And you're watching tonight on a team that wants to shoot the 3 ball comfortably, and the Suns just wouldn't let them. And Mark Williams was a big part of that. Let's see who else we got. This was like everybody. The second quarter bench. That was actually the first note I took, was like, this is what you want from the bench. They came in, they played hard, they shared the ball, and they pushed the lead to 13. It was an absolute momentum shift, because it was a 4-point lead after the first quarter. The teams were kind of going back and forth. And that second team unit came in, and the Suns had 33 points in that quarter. 17 of them came from the bench guys. In that quarter, the Suns, end up shooting 43%, but it was the energy that they brought. And that's that's another thing that we just didn't have last year. When the starters came out, the bench was there, but it wasn't like Mason Plumlee consistently was just providing these quality minutes or this shot in the arm energy-wise. Cody Martin did at the end of the year. Colin Gillespie did at the end of the year. But now we have guys who do it every night. Jordan Goodwin, who played all those minutes? Let's see. The lineups included, it was Oso, it was Grayson Allen, it was Rasheer Fleming. Rasheer Fleming looked great tonight, by the way, on both ends. A little shaky on offense a couple times. He tried you could tell it was like the first time he tried to go left and put the ball behind his back. And he's like, oh, shit. And he lost it, but the Wizards are the Wizards, so they didn't steal the ball. He's like, oh, shit. But yeah, I mean, it was just from a coaching perspective, it's got to be great for Jordan not to just sit there and go, hey, go in their second team unit and pick up the energy, pick it up. Let's get this thing going. And they abided easily. I do have in my notes the fact that Jordan Ott won a challenge up 26 points. Fantastic. Well done, Sir Ott. Another thing I have in my notes, and this is going back to kind of the Mark Williams standpoint, is a quality stat.
Dang, stat me.
All right, so this comes from Luke Green, a listener all the way from Australia. And one thing that he's doing now, if you know me, I love mining stats and tracking weird things. And he's got a whole spreadsheet he sent me. Luke, I love this spreadsheet. One, thank you for listening to the pod. And two, thank you for doing this. He is tracking how the Suns, how often they win the opening tip, Mark Williams specifically, if they score on those possessions, and how many times they win those games. 79% of the time this year, Mark Williams has won the tip. 79%. Now think back to the DeAndre Ayton days, or Yusuf Nurkic days. Like, consistently, we would lose those tips. And the reason I like winning the tip is not just because you have an opportunity to score first, but you get the ball to start the fourth quarter. And in like football, if you're smart, you hold the ball at the end of the third quarter, you can get double possessions, right? You hit something in the last seconds of the third quarter, you score 2 points, you open up the fourth quarter of the ball, you score. That's 4 points right there. But according to Luke's stats, Williams has won the opening tip 79% of the time, and the Suns have scored on 50% of those possessions. And per his spreadsheet, 65% of the time when the Suns win the opening tip, they win the game. There you go. That's all you need to know, my friends. It's all right there. That's all you need to know. Let's talk about Devin Booker. You know what? I want to talk about Dylan Brooks just because I updated his drop a little bit.
Dylan, the villain.
Finally got a little good Suns footage in there. Dylan Brooks, another quality game from him. Got another technical foul. I think it's 13 on the year, and 16 is kind of that zone we need to be careful of, or he needs to be careful of, because once you hit 16, you start to get those suspended games, and we just don't need that. That's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to play the new drop. I work hard on these little things, and they make me happy, and they make me smile, and there you go. Mr. Devin Mitchell in the chat. 69% of the time we win all of the 65% of the time. Something like that. Weird math. Essentially, it is 79% of the time we win the opening tip. If we win the opening tip, 65% of the time we win the games. It's math. I'll tell you, it's math in there. Let's do subreddit. The Suns Jam Session subreddit stakeout. Reminder that subreddit is brought to you by NettlesAirConditioning.com.
If you need a unit, we've got you covered. NettlesAir.com is where to go, brother. Call 623-444-4888. Nettles Air makes your home feel great.
Sorry, I'm not doing the Batman voice. Kind of hurts, and doing the where is she? It hurts. So you got your water cup, and I just didn't feel like putting it on. So I apologize. It's a solo act tonight. My back hurts. I'm leaning over here like Quasimodo. I walk like Quasimodo. You should see me walk around the house. Whew, Quasi. But here's what the Washington Wizards fan base had to say in their subreddit tonight. Suns are the only teams I haven't enjoyed watching us play against. Both games, they immediately start complaining for calls. Brooks and Booker don't appear to actually want to play basketball. They prefer ref ball, I guess. That's the observation from the other side. They really play Oso over Kaman Malawach. They should just let us have him. Kaman's going to be great, and it's going to be in time, and it's going to be fun when it happens. And we're going to look back at this time, my fellow Jamsters, and go, you know what? They played it right. They did it right. It's like Aaron Rodgers. You let him sit behind Brett Favre for a few years, and he gets better. And that's what's going to happen here. Of course, the year we have a pick swap with the Suns, they overachieve in a stack West. The annoying part, and there's somebody else saying this, and it's true, the annoying part about this is knowing that those Suns swaps are never going to come into play. I know we didn't get much for the Beal trade, but the picks aren't even real, and we gave them Goodwin on top of everything else. And that's something to remember, because you take a look at that graphic, and I'm sure you've seen it online, where it shows what the Suns gave up for Bradley Beal, and it's a lot, especially when you see all the picks. But you have to remember that those picks are pick swaps. And whenever you see pick swap, it means you still have your pick. You're giving up the chance that you could be worse than the opposing team. So I trade Jordan Goodwin and a pick swap to the Grizzlies, right? If the Grizzlies are better than the Suns, then we're fucked. But the Wizards are the Wizards, and the Wizards will always be the Wizards. I don't care if you get Trae Young or not, man. You still can't defend. We saw it tonight, dude. That team can't defend, and they turned the ball over a ton. How many total turnovers did they have in this game? Because it was something dirty. 23 turnovers. Now, it only led to 20 points for the Suns, but 23 turnovers. So, yeah, the Suns gave up a ton for Bradley Beal, right? They gave up Chris Paul, who I think I was fine giving up Chris Paul. Weren't you? They give up Landry Shamet. I was fine giving up Landry Shamet. Were you? They gave up a bunch of draft capital, which was pick swaps, because they couldn't give away straight up first round picks because we had already traded those for Kevin Durant. The only problem I have with the Bradley Beal trade is the fact that we got Bradley Beal in it. And Jordan Goodwin, he was fantastic. The only thing that was shitty about that trade was the fact that we got Bradley Beal. And then that Dunn slam happened, and respect from the Wizards fans. Oh my God, that Dunn slam was nasty. Fuck, that Dunn might be one of the filthiest putbacks I've seen in a while. Wow. Damn, Dunn. God, I hate Grayson Allen. What an asshole. I don't even know what he did to earn that. Booker deserves all the hate he gets, was another comment. Anyone asking if that Mark Williams snatch was a goaltend? Nah, he just caught that shit at the apex. Shit was disgusting. Great play. If you didn't see it, Mark Williams on a block didn't just block it. He blocked it out of the air, grabbed it, and brought it down like he was a running back. And then somebody said, bruh, why the Suns creating a highlight reel against us? Because that's what tonight was. If you didn't watch the game, if you're busy watching NFL football, the Suns, it was a highlight reel. I mean, just alley-oop dunks. I don't know if the Suns have had more dunks in a game than they had tonight. Now, granted, if you look at the graphic that I create for every podcast, it has the Suns' overall dunk metric, right? Their attribute meter. And I think they were at 6 coming into this, which means they're like 16th in the league in dunks. Tonight, we could jump up like 4 spots. There were so many fucking dunks tonight. Everybody had a dunk tonight. And that's the subreddit stakeout. The Suns Jam Session subreddit stakeout. Brought to you by nettlessair.com. And if you're interested in sponsoring a segment here on the Suns Jam Session podcast, reach out to us, sunsjamsession@gmail.com. All right, I want to read the comments a little bit, and then we're going to Jamstar. Mr. Devin Mitchell says, Beal and Wall were a solid backcourt combo. They were for like 3 years. A long time ago. Malo watching a bunch of Duke games last year, was a great rim protector and a lob guy. He was. Yeah, it's not a ton of comments tonight. Not a ton of comments. Just guys talking back and forth. Love you guys talking. This is a good one. Book's ball handling has been great lately. 8 assists to 1 turnover tonight. He really has been fantastic distributing the ball. He has kind of all year. Now, it's another. I guess I could trivia time you on this one.
You know what time it is.
Trivia time. Exact stat in front of me what I was looking at earlier today. Booker's assist to turnover ratio is like 1.92 this season. Where do you think that ranks all time for him personally? Or no, it was his usage rate. His usage rate was 29.2. And it's his 6th most usage rate. And I thought that was a very telling statistic, because if you look in the past when Booker was point book, or his early years when we relied on him as a playmaker like we do now, his usage rate was up in the 30s. And now he's distributing more. His turnovers are high, but a lot of that comes, in my opinion, from the beginning of the year. He's really started to level out his playmaking. But he really is a lethal scorer from the mid-range and somebody who is doing a really good job distributing the ball effectively to his teammates and keeping the flow of the game going. And I think that's the key, because sometimes if you think of a traditional distributor, you think of somebody who actually slows the game down like Chris Paul used to. Chris Paul would a snail's pace and bring the ball up slowly and run these very deliberate sets. Whereas Booker, he might get the ball in the second action on a specific play and then distribute out of that and find the open guy and do so fantastically. So when you go on to FanDuel and you want to bet his assists over 6, it's a safe bet because he lives in that range. I think 6.9 is what he's at giggity this year, maybe a little bit higher, but absolutely he's been doing a really good job, especially as of late, being a distributor. And I think that that's obviously important for a team that doesn't have a traditional point guard. And think back to that. Think back to the front end of the season. Everyone was wondering that, right? Everybody's wondering, okay, well, what are the Suns going to do? They don't have a traditional point guard. And it's like, just because it didn't work last season, it actually worked 2 seasons ago when it was Bradley Beal and Devin Booker. It just didn't work at the beginning of fourth quarters when we choke away games. Because remember, that team finished 16 games over 500, and they handed away like 7 games. That could have been like a 55-win team without a traditional point guard. But then last year happened. It was absolutely abhorrent. They brought in Tyus Jones. They started him. They didn't use him effectively as a point guard. His defense was absolutely abhorrent. That's my word tonight. Abhorrent. He had abhorrent defense, and the team struggled just overall for things that were clear was outside of the purview of just the way they play basketball on the court, but just the connectivity off the court. So again, because you look at Colin Gillespie's not a traditional point guard. Devin Booker's the one who's doing the more majority of the playmaking. So just a shout out to Devin Booker. Mezzi Aquatics. When's Jalen Green back? My assumption is on this road trip. It's got to be. I mean, it's January 11th already. It's been 2 months and 2 days since he pulled his hamstring. I think it was November 9th when it happened. I mean, that's a long fucking time. Now, granted, like the beauty of where the Suns are at, again, now 9 games over 500, is they can continue to slow play it. They can continue to take their time, operate within the space that is most comfortable for him. And then once he comes back, we can start. If we lose a couple games, we're like, what the fuck? Get rid of him. I almost wish he was back earlier because it's like, if you did want to trade somebody, give him a month, see how it works. If it's not working, trade him for a power forward. I can think of like 4 power forwards you can get for $33 million. Quick update. The Kings are up by 5 points on the Rockets. Saint says Tyus Jones has become so bad he's hardly doing anything with the Magic now. Yeah. We got a guy on the back end. You know, again, that's what happens when you come to Phoenix, man. Think of how many guys have come here in the past like 3-4 years. And they're veteran minimum guys. Tyus Jones is a veteran minimum guy. And we're like, dude, this guy could be it, man. This could be it. And it's like, oh, he's not even in the league or he's buried somewhere. Like, where's Monte Morris? Where's Bol? You know, Chimezie Metu, Yuta Watanabe. Jordan Goodwin's the only one who's like survived. And I think it's just because he was younger than all those guys. Ted in the chat said, didn't Book just tweet out waiting on 4? I think that means he'll be back real soon. I agree. Yeah, he said something like waiting on you 4 and a picture of Jalen Green on his IG. And it's essentially him saying like, hey, it's almost time for him to come back. Back in time 13 asks, what traditional point guard's playing right now? Trae Young, ? Yeah, that's kind of it. Like Trae Young, LaMelo Ball to a certain extent. He's bigger, but he is what you would define kind of as a facilitator. I mean, there's not a ton of them left in the NBA. It's a dying breed. You have to have the ability to do so much more nowadays. Didn't we want Tyus Jones primarily for his assist to turnover ratio? 100%. That was what him and Monte Morris. Remember the back end of last year, we brought in 2 guys. We're like, dude, these guys don't turn the ball over. Because what was our Achilles heel the previous season? Turning the ball over at the beginning of fourth quarters, pissing away leads in the fourth quarter. It's like, God, if we only had somebody who didn't turn the ball over. So we brought them here and we never put the fucking ball in their hands. Great call there, Mike Budenholzer. Great call. All right. Let's hand out some hardware.
Jam Star of the Game.
All right, to my fellow Jamsters, subscribe, rate, review. Unless you didn't like the podcast, and shut the fuck up and don't say anything. But if you happen to be on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and leave us a review. We'll read it right here on the pod. And I'm opening it up right now, seeing if anybody has left a review in quite some time. I don't know if anybody has. Let's see here. Should have done this before. All right, let's see. We've the last review was November or December 16th. I missed one because before that, the last one was June 4th. But Suns Sicko gave us 5 stars and said, "Best Suns pod." Thank you. Says, "Always my first stop after games is the Suns Jam session. Appreciate the passion and dedication the fellas bring to the show." Thank you, Sun Sicko. And thank you to all you sickos who are sitting here watching this tonight, or if you're listening to this at a later time. Appreciate you just lending your ears and hearing what I have to say about our beloved Phoenix Suns. Let me know in the chat who your jam star of the game is. I'm going to read these first because I really don't know how to go. My instinct says Rolls Royce because he had the most points and was impactful, but Ryan Dunn had a solid game, as I mentioned. Mark Williams, even though he didn't put up the stats, I like the way that he affected the game. Jordan Goodwin getting back on track looked good. Colin Gillespie didn't have stuff the stat sheet, but he was a pest defensively. Devin Booker, Dylan Brooks. All right, so let's and typically I've noticed this because I do the Bright Side Baller article, which I'm going to start. I already started, but I'm going to finish up once I'm done here, and it'll be published tomorrow morning on brightsideofthesun.com. But what I always do is whenever I can't figure out who it is, I vote for Jordan because that means that it was a team win and Jordan had those guys ready. And on a night when it was a trap game, it was probably Jordan. And it's probably who I'll go with. But Seth in the chat says Jordan Ott. Sean in the chat says Rolls Royce. Suns Fever says, "I'm giving the jam star to Oso tonight. Nice all-around game." Yeah, Oso, if he only had that one other fucking rebound. I needed 4 rebounds from him. It's funny how whenever you put money on somebody on FanDuel, you really key into their game, right? And so I was watching Oso like a hawk because I was like, dude, I need him to get 4 rebounds. His positioning was so ass. I'm like, come on, man, at least fight. And Marvin Bagley, just get around the guy. Go get the rebound. And then he grabbed his 4th rebound, but there was an offensive foul. I was like, got down, sat on the bench. David Ray says his jam star is 4 of the 5 starters, excluding Colin. Uggy says Keith Nettles. Toughest jam star choice today, says Saintful, which is correct. Mr. Devin Mitchell says Royce deserves the jam star, as does Mezzi Aquatic, says Rolls Royce. So I think, based on what everyone's saying in the chat, Rolls Royce is the guy who, in your eyes, should get it. All right. Up next for the Phoenix Suns, a road trip begins, a long one. Now, we do have a 6-game road trip at the back end of the season against the Eastern Conference, and that's going to include games like the Celtics, I think the Raptors, Charlotte. But it's a 6-game roadie. It starts on Tuesday. It's a 5:30 game on Tuesday against the Miami Heat. They go then to Detroit, to New York, to Brooklyn, to Philly, and they end in Atlanta, and that's on Friday, January 23rd. So their next home game is against Miami on the 25th. So 2 weeks from today is the next time. And then the next night is January 27th against Brooklyn. And that's actually Dave King's Brightside night. So if you're in the building, I'll be there as well. That's where I think we're sending over 400 kids to go see their first Phoenix Suns game. Thanks to everybody who donated to Dave King's Brightside night. Truly, truly appreciate that. But talking about the Miami Heat. Okay, so it's always interesting when you start to talk about these teams that are in the Eastern Conference because I don't watch a ton of Eastern Conference basketball. I do watch the Hornets actually here and there because I really like Brandon Miller and Colin Knippel. But Miami, if you want to know who they are, they're a team that's 20-18. They play today against OKC, and they lost by 12 points. Update, 6:38 left in the 4th. The Kings are up 92-87. I love that people are listening to this later. They're like, John, stop giving me fucking updates, dude. I know the final score. But the thing you have to know about the Heat, based on what I've heard, I listened to a lot of Zach Lowe, which I recommend if you want to get a kind of a totalitarian view of the entire NBA. Zach Lowe does a fantastic job. And they're the number 1 team in the league with pace. And it's the way that they're playing that's extremely different, at least per Zach Lowe. And this was a couple weeks ago, but they're playing with pace, and they're not a team that switches a bunch. They don't run it. They run almost no high screen and roll actions. That's what's interesting about them, is they're playing a new kind of spo ball out there that for the Suns, it's going to be the first time they've seen anything like that. Now, granted, Jordan Ott is a maniac, and he's a film room guy just like Spo was. So I'm sure him and his assistant coaches are already knew that this game's upcoming and are going to have this team prepped and ready to go against this unique type of basketball. But again, if you're not running high screen roll actions, it means you're primarily when your defense is set, your defense is set. You're not, and so much in today's NBA, you're used to an offensive set starting. Here comes a high screen. I have to determine whether I want to switch, if I want to drop, if I want to attack, if I want to roll over. And in these situations, when they're not running screens, that's not happening. So what they're doing is it's screens, but it's like back screens and things of that nature. And so you have to be very cognizant of things on the back side, not the front side. And that's how they kind of try to attack you and want to beat you. Their injury report, at least as of today, let's see here. Is there an injury report? I'm not seeing anything. Norman Powell is the guy who's and Tyler Hero, although Tyler Hero I don't think is playing. Bam Adebayo, Khalil Ware. It's going to be an interesting game on Tuesday, and I'd really like for the Suns to start the road trip off right. So we'll see. All right, let's see. Ted. Nigel Hayes Davis for Jamstar. He was perfect from the field tonight. Yes, 1 of 1. Back in time 13. How much have you lost from betting this year? Seems like you always just miss it by a rebound or assist. Thankfully, I bet like $2. Like I do it to make the games fun and to talk about it on the pod because we have a partnership with FanDuel. I'm not throwing $20. So I think like all told this year, it's January 11th. I haven't lost anything. I'm still in plus money. I've maybe lost like $20. I've taken $20. I've turned it into 200 and I've just been living on that for quite some time. Although, I hit a bet today. It was a 4-leg bet. It won me like $40 and I bet like $5, right? It was a 4-leg bet, football bet. Josh Allen. Nope. I didn't bet on that game. It was Brock Purdy over 200 yards. Christian McCaffrey over 30 yards receiving, Drake May over 225 yards passing, and Hunter Henry over 30 yards receiving. Like something like that. Kind of low, like minus 300, minus 400 legs. But you put 4 of those together, you get something that ends up being like plus 300, and then they give you profit boost and things of that nature. But good question. I appreciate it. John Voight, goddamn it, drop the betting bullshit, but take their sponsorship money. It's part of the deal. I have to talk about it. I hope they don't hear that. I was tempted to move back, but I see him always losing. Again, bet $2, man. This is a great question. John, what do you think a realistic record is for this trip? Okay, let's go through this. Miami, realistically, I could see us losing that game. Again, this Suns team, I believe they can win every game. I'll start by prefacing that. But as I just mentioned, Miami just plays a different kind of basketball. And if you're not ready for it and it's on the road and you're in South Beach, I think there's a lot of factors there. So they could lose that one, right? So that's 0-1. At Detroit, another tough team. That could be 0-2. And then we're at New York. Could be 0-3. Just saying. Like, realistically, we could start this trip. We could go 0-3 next week. Do I believe that? No. I think, like, the Suns go 1-2 out of those 3. Then it's Brooklyn. That's a win. That's 2-2 on the trip. Philly, I see that as a win. That's 3-2. And then Atlanta. So they could go 4-2 on this. 3-3 is kind of like if they come back. If it's a 2-4 road trip, in my opinion, that was a bad road trip for Phoenix. 3-3 is acceptable. 4-2, that was a good road trip, in my opinion. Great question. Ted says this season has been fun so far. I think we all deserve it for living through the last 2 seasons. No fucking shit. Amen. Let's see. Will you be there this year? We went last year hoping to meet you. Granted, we met Mesh Chapman. That was so cool. He has the best glasses. Yeah, my game plan. Now, granted, like I've thrown my back out. I'm doing my best to recover this thing, but The only reason I missed going to Brightside Night last year, because I'll be asking Rex, it's Rex Chapman again. That's who we'll be asking questions of at Brightside Night. There's certain people who donated who get an opportunity for a Q&A. And if back in time 13, you were one of those people, yeah, Brandon Dunas, my deputy manager at Brightside of the Sun, stood in for me. The only reason I didn't go last year, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish were in a playoff game on their, trying to play it. I think it was the national championship game. So I couldn't go, or they played Penn State that night. So it's one of those things, like I love going, but man, everyone's putting in their records 5-1, 4-2, 4-2. I love seeing that. I love seeing that. Let's see here. Yep, Notre Dame was playing. Yep. So myself and Matthew didn't go to that game. I don't think we did a pod after that. Maybe we did. I don't recall. But all right, with all that being said, I've been standing now here for over 45 minutes. Back is a little crickety. So I appreciate you all for hanging out with me. Tuesday night, Matthew will be back. I'll be back. Hopefully we're talking about a win over Miami. Let's start this road trip off right. Thanks for hanging out. Hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe, rate, review. Tell your friends. I want to get to 4,000. It's just like this mental hurdle because we've been on it for 3 seasons. We started out so great, and we're like, dude, we're going to have like 10,000 subscribers within 5 years. This is like year 7 of doing the pod, and we're still at 4,000. So just tell your friends. Log into your burner YouTube accounts. Subscribe. I don't know. I'm just kidding. Love you guys, though. Appreciate you. Go Suns, man. That was a fun one tonight. That was a fun one. And go home and love your family.
Hey, you're listening to the Suns Jam Session podcast, shooting the shit about the Suns since 2019.